Yes, I believe Shedeur Sanders can be a starter in this league. Just go with Shedeur and let's keep it pushing.
Everybody keeps asking the same question. Will Shedeur Sanders ever actually start in the NFL? And Gerald McCoy just answered it himself. Not a rumor, not some random hot take from a guy on Twitter. McCoy sat right there on Get Up and said it out loud. Plain and simple. He believes Shedeur can start in this league. And once you hear the full breakdown, the QB battle happening inside the Browns building right now, and why Deshaun Watson's window might already be closing, you're going to see exactly why McCoy isn't hedging on this one at all. So here's where this all starts. New Browns head coach Todd Monken told NFL Network's Cameron Wolfe exactly how this quarterback competition is going to work. Both Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson are going to start a preseason game each. Watson gets one, Shedeur gets the other. Then whoever comes out ahead after those two games starts the third and final preseason game against the Patriots on August 27th. That's the plan. Clean, simple on paper. But here's the thing about plans like that. They only stay clean until one guy starts pulling away. And that's exactly what's happening right now. One of the Get Up analysts broke down what he's actually seeing at camp, and he didn't sugarcoat it. He said this isn't ideal because Monken really wanted a starter decided before training camp even opened. That didn't happen, so now they're in year one of an actual open competition. And in his words, he doesn't want to call it a surprise because it kinda isn't. Shedeur Sanders has come out of the gate hot. 2 days with the starting reps and he's looked good, really good. Deshaun Watson, on the other hand, has thrown a handful of interceptions that people in the building have noticed. And when you're the guy making $46 million a year, every single one of those picks gets magnified. The analyst put it simply, it's still early, way too early to call anything official, but right now, today, it feels like Shedeur has the edge. That's not a Browns beat reporter with an agenda. That's not a Colorado fan still riding the hype train from last year's draft coverage. That's a national panel on ESPN live saying the rookie fifth-round pick is outplaying the guy with the fully guaranteed contract. And that's before you even get to what Gerald McCoy said next.
But Shedeur Sanders has come out very hot. He has looked very good in his 2 days with the starting reps. Deshaun Watson, on the other hand, throwing quite a few picks that have drawn some criticism out there of people watching. It is far from over. It is still very early. But right now, feels like Sanders has the edge.
So if the tape already says Shedeur has the edge, why is anybody still debating this? That's where it gets interesting, because here's what most fans never get to hear. What actually happens inside that locker room before any of it becomes a headline. Gerald McCoy explained it from the perspective of a guy who's actually played the game at the highest level. He said when you're in that locker room during a quarterback battle, you already know. The players know before the media does, before the coach makes any announcement, before any of it goes public. You're watching who the offense gravitates toward. You're watching who the defense respects. And you already know who you want under center walking into that first preseason game. Then McCoy said something that should have been the headline of the entire segment. He said if he was picking, and you already made the decision to go younger with this roster, if you traded away a guy like Myles Garrett because you're building for the future, then why would you keep running it back with Deshaun Watson? He said Watson has had every opportunity in the world to show what he can do. His exact words, just go with Shedeur. Let's keep it pushing. Let's establish him as the starter and build from there. That's not a fan in the comments. That's a former all-pro defensive tackle, a guy who spent his career reading quarterbacks from the other side of the ball, telling a national audience to hand the job to the rookie. The host pushed back a little, the way any good host should. He pointed out the Browns actually got elite production out of their rookie class last year. They drafted well. They've got a young core they can build around, even after moving on from Garrett. So does that mean Sanders should be the guy right now? The response from the panel was almost unanimous. It should be a meritocracy. Let him earn it. But then came the real gut punch of a question. How many more years is Cleveland allowed to say next year? Next year we've got the picks. Next year we get our quarterback.
At some point, next year has to become right now. And that's exactly the tension sitting underneath this entire quarterback competition.
Yeah, we sitting in that locker room, you got a QB battle going on, but whoever starts, you start this preseason game, they start their preseason game. We sitting in the locker room like we know who the guy is. On the defense, we looking at the offense like we see who they're gravitating to, and we know who we want to be the guy in the locker room. The coach can say what he wants to the media and all that, but we know. So leading up to these games, we're thinking, okay, how can we win with this guy right here? But for me, if I'm picking, you just hit on the draft last year with your draft picks.
Right.
With all your young guys. You just traded away Myles Garrett because we want to go younger. If you're going to do that, Deshaun Watson has had all the opportunities to show what he can do. Just go with Shedeur and let's keep it pushing. Like, you're going younger. Why not just go with Shedeur? Let's establish him as the starter and let's just build from there.
There is no version of this where Deshaun Watson is the long-term answer in Cleveland. None. And the panel said exactly that. One analyst laid out the actual business logic behind all of this, and it's brutal when you hear it stacked up like this. If Shedeur wins the job outright, that's actually the best outcome for the Browns. Why? Because they still hold 2 first-round picks next year regardless. So they get a cheap, controlled, talented rookie quarterback under center, and they keep all the draft capital to build around him. It's the best version of this scenario for the front office. But if Watson somehow wins the competition and gives them the best chance to win right now, then fine, you play him. Because you have to protect the credibility of that locker room. You can't just hand a job to a rookie who hasn't earned it, no matter how good the story sounds. And then came the line that really cuts through all the noise. One of the panelists said it flat out. There is no world where Deshaun Watson is the future of this organization. Not after everything that's happened. Not after the money, not after the injuries, not after 2 separate Achilles tears that wiped out his entire 2025 season. But he was also honest enough to add the other side of it. That doesn't mean you just bench a guy purely on narrative if he's actually playing better right now. Sometimes the situation makes the decision for you. And based on what's actually happening on the practice field, Shedeur Sanders is starting to look like the better quarterback. Period. Think about what that means for a second. When the Browns front office sits down after camp wraps and starts talking to personnel, in private, away from the cameras and the media obligations, you think they're not seeing the exact same thing everyone on this panel is seeing? You think Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam haven't noticed a 5th-round rookie outplaying a quarterback owed over $200 million, fully guaranteed? This isn't some fan fantasy anymore. This is national analysts, a former All-Pro, and Browns beat reporters all pointing at the same conclusion from completely different angles.
So I still think it should be a meritocracy. They should have to compete for it, right? Okay? Because, look, in the end, I mean, when do you get tired of in Cleveland constantly talking about next year and pushing things down the road next year? Well, next year we have all these picks. Next year we could get our quarterback. No. Look, if Shedeur wins the job, great. That's perfect for them because they still have those 2 1s for next year. You know what? And I'll tell you what, if Deshaun wins it and he gives them the best chance to win, then look, as Gerald's talking about, as we know this, you want to maintain credibility in your locker room. You're not just going to play a guy who didn't earn it. So if Shedeur doesn't earn it, you can't play him.
Right.
But if he's earning it, it's the perfect scenario for them. I think that's what everybody wants. That's what everybody wants.
There feels like no world where Deshaun Watson is the future of this organization.
Right.
After all that has happened, after all that has gone through. But that doesn't mean, to your point, that you can just throw the other guy out there if Deshaun is clearly better.
Yeah.
At this point, it seems to be making its decision for them because Shedeur Sanders looks like the better quarterback.
And this is where Gerald McCoy stops talking about the QB battle in general terms and starts talking specifically about Shedeur. This is the part of the segment that should have gone viral for the right reason, because it didn't come from a hot take account or a highlight page cutting things out of context. It came straight from McCoy, unprompted, laying out exactly why he believes in this kid. He started with the resume nobody can argue with. He asked, did people forget who Shedeur's father is? Deion Sanders is arguably the best player to ever put on a pair of cleats. And McCoy made the point that raising a son under that kind of standard changes how that kid processes pressure. The lights aren't too big for Shedeur Sanders because he's been hearing, what do you see out there? What's this coverage doing? From Deion since before he could drive. Then McCoy said it, plainly, on camera, no hedge, no maybe. Yes, I believe Shedeur Sanders can be a starter in this league. That sentence right there is the entire story. A former Pro Bowl defensive tackle, somebody who spent over a decade in NFL locker rooms and understands exactly what it takes to survive at that position, looked at Shedeur Sanders and said yes. And he didn't stop at pedigree either. He pointed to the tape. He said Shedeur made his own resume out at Colorado. There's plenty of evidence on film that says he can do the things you need a franchise quarterback to do. The only variable left, in McCoy's own words, is whether he gets the right support around him so that mental resilience turns into consistent weekly performance. That's not blind hype. That's a former player watching the tape and coming to a conclusion. And when you put it all together, the coach setting up a real competition, the on-field reps already tilting Shedeur's way, a former All-Pro publicly backing him, and a front office that has every incentive to make this decision, the picture gets pretty clear. The question was never really whether Shedeur Sanders has the talent to start in this league. Gerald McCoy already answered that. The real question is just how much longer the Browns wait to make it official.
Yeah, he's got winning pedigree. Did people forget who his dad is?
Yeah.
I know how I groom my son. I groom my son in a way of I know what it takes to be at the highest level, and I'm not Prime. Prime is arguably the best player to ever put on cleats. So imagine how he's been grooming his son from the time he started coaching him. The lights are not too big for Shedeur Sanders. He can handle any pressure you give him and any thought process or questions he has. Hey, Pops, what you got for me?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do? What does coverage look like doing this? What is this doing this? Yes, I believe Shedeur Sanders can be a starter in this league.
And on top of it, look, he's kind of made his own resume. Okay, when he was out at Colorado, he had plenty of tape. There's plenty of evidence that says, I can do the things that you need franchise quarterbacks to do.
So let's lay it all out one more time, because this whole thing is bigger than one soundbite. Todd Monken built an actual open competition, 2 preseason starts each, then a real decision before the Patriots game. Shedeur Sanders has come out of the gate playing well, while Deshaun Watson has thrown picks that have people inside the building talking. A national ESPN panel, unprompted, said Shedeur currently has the edge. Gerald McCoy, a former All-Pro who's actually played this game at the highest level, said flat out to go with Shedeur and build from there. And then he went even further, saying on camera that he believes Shedeur can be a starting quarterback in this league, backed by pedigree, backed by tape, backed by 2 days of actual starting reps. None of that is manufactured. None of that is a fan account stretching a quote into something it isn't. That's the actual conversation happening on national television right now from people who watch this stuff for a living. The Browns front office is watching the exact same reps everyone else is watching. And every single incentive, the draft capital, the rookie contract, the locker room credibility, all of it points toward one outcome. Gerald McCoy already told you where this is heading. So here's the real question for you. Do you think the Browns officially name Shedeur Sanders the starter before that Patriots preseason game? Or does Todd Monken drag this competition all the way to week 1 just to protect Deshaun Watson's ego and that $230 million contract? Because based on everything Gerald McCoy just said, based on the tape, based on the picks Watson's been throwing, it feels like the writing is already on the wall. This isn't a rookie hoping for a shot anymore. This is a former All-Pro looking at the tape and saying he's ready right now. Drop your prediction in the comments, starting by preseason game 3 or week 1. Smash like and subscribe.